students, once again, you're welcome to JZ Tutorials. It's a pleasure coming your way again with another interesting lesson, as it has usually been. Yes, you're welcome. I thank you for your decision to subscribe to this channel and get lessons on social studies. I also thank you for your likes. I appreciate you sharing the videos with other friends. But for you out there, if this is the first time you are watching me, well, you can also share with other friends. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any question, the comment box or section is there. Put your questions there and I will address them. Someone reminded me concerning a promise I made to teach how to answer social studies questions. Alright, based on the instructions that they use to set those questions. And I've come with that lesson right now. So that is what I'm bringing to you. Well, if you want to be an A-class student and present good answers in a social studies exam, this is what you have to do. So I'm bringing you a refined and a credible, possible way, okay, very easy, where I'm going to talk about the instructions. So I'm expecting you to take your notes and then listen carefully. Then from there you can also practice these instructions and then answer more questions in the books that you have, the textbooks and so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm actually going to take you to the screen now and I'll show you some of these common instructions that are being used. Now, most of these instructions, you can also find them in other subjects like integrated science, religious and moral education, even in ICT and other subjects. But what they actually demand in those subjects might be different from what they are actually expecting you to do, okay, in social studies. Alright, so as a social studies student, what do you do when you are being asked to state a point, define a point, explain a point, enumerate, list, name, describe, discuss, identify? All these instructions, I've captured them. So I'm going to look at those instructions right now because I want you to be the best performer in social studies and get the full mark at all times. Okay, you can make a good mark, get grade 1 or A when you are able to adhere to these instructions and follow the rules carefully. Okay, so exams will come your way. Don't be scared. When you meet a social studies paper, you can do justice to it. So we'll be going into those instructions and I will take you through them one by one, give you examples, and you see how interesting they are. You realize that these are things that you could just get at your fingertips and then try to practice them, and social studies will become a delight to you all the time. So let's go into those instructions right now. Alright, so dear students, we'll take a critical look at the instructions that we always come across when we are answering social studies questions, and we'll look at what the examiner or the one who has set the question for you is actually demanding or looking out for. Remember, they have a marking scheme and they are going to mark everything by what is being provided or listed or explained in the marking scheme. And when it comes to social studies, they go by the instructions. So the common ones we have, we will look at them. So the common ones, so we have what. So it can be what, define, explain, one. Then we'll see why I've labeled this one as explain 1 or explanation, the first explanation or first form of explanation. And then we'll look at state. Then we'll look at the second form of explanation, which is explain 2. That's the third one. Then we'll take a closer look at highlight. Alright, so then we look at list, mention, name, enumerate. When you are being asked to list, mention, enumerate, what do you have to do as a student or a candidate sitting for an exam? Then we look at identify. So identify is also one of the instructions commonly used in this particular subject. Remember, in other subjects like science, RME, which is religious and moral education, they use these instructions. But what they are actually demanding in those subjects might be different from what you'll be expecting here. Okay, so take a closer. We are looking at social studies. All right. Then we'll look at describe and then discuss. Describe and discuss. So there is a familiarity, and we'll go into it and see what the student has to do when he's or she is being asked to describe or discuss. Then we'll look at suggest or give. So suggest or give. So quickly, let's see the first one. So we have what, define or explain. So what do you have to do when you are asked to they bring a keyword. So I'm going to give examples. So as you have them, you can copy them down, take note of them. Then as I give the examples to, you can replay the video, get all these examples so you practice them. All right. So what? Consider the marks, define and give an example. When you have a question and they say what? So what is colonization? So let me begin with that. Okay, or let me go to Form 1, first year. This is under environment. So what is environment? What is environment? So here you have to look at the mark. If the mark is just 2, you just go straight forward and define environment. Don't waste time. Remember, every question given, you are to spend a maximum of 20 minutes on that particular question, because you have 60 minutes for the section B paper, which is 1 hour. So the section B is a subjective, that is a written aspect or part. So what you have to do is that you have to be quick, but as well plan your work. So don't be in a rush anyway. When you plan, you'll be able to write the answers easily, okay, without making mistakes, and avoid cancellation. So let's look at, so what is environment? So you have a question like this, 2 marks. What is environment? 4 marks. They are different. So what is environment? 2 marks. You go straight forward. Don't use, I advise my student, don't use a pronoun to begin your definition. Most at times, and it could be that some of the examiners may not carry the marking scheme along, but they will want to cross-check and go through some of the papers and see if they can mark the easy answers. Okay, so what happens is that when you use a pronoun to start your definition, they actually have to go back to refer to the question and then see what kind of question that you are trying to define or answer. So environment, but when you start environment is, okay, it's better than saying it is. All right, so the examiner knows that, okay, you are defining environment. All right, so environment refers, or environment is, okay, our physical and social surrounding. Okay, so a physical and social surrounding. You put full stop there. You can go further and give an example. For example, then you mention some of the components of the environment: the trees, the water bodies, the highlands, and the forest or the vegetation, animals, and so on and so forth. Okay, so remember, when you also define, don't use shorthand. You might have seen some of the shorthand being used in your textbook. They are expecting you, the student, to go and add more, because the author, it can't exhaust or write all the examples for you. So you have to do. So you don't bring that. When you bring it, it means that you're also telling the examiner to go and look for more examples. Yes, so you have to take note of that too. So don't use the etc. So when you are listing examples or giving some examples, you can give 1 or 2 and then bring comma and say among others. Okay, that means there are more, but because of time you can't write all of them. But it shouldn't be less than 2 examples. It shouldn't be less than 2 examples. So consider the mark when you are being asked. So what? So let's go to the other one. What is environment? 4 marks. Okay, with this you have to define like we just did. So Environment refers to the physical and social surroundings. Okay, you put your full stop there, then you go further. The physical surrounding or physical environment refers to, okay, our natural and artificial things, which include human beings, trees, water bodies, cars, buildings, among others. While a social surrounding consists or refers to the interpersonal relationship that exists between mankind. Okay, I hope you got that. All right, so that is for what? So you have seen it. Consider the marks. Now let's go to define. So for define, when you are defining a point, just like, so let me pick another example. Define colonization. There is always a standard definition in social studies. What is a standard definition? A standard definition is the definition that carries that has the key terms or the technical words. Okay, the technical words are very important, and if you write them in just mere English words, you might end up getting half of the mark or something that you are not expecting. Okay, so to get a full mark, try and revise well, know the technical words, then you can put them together in a simple statement. So colonization is the situation whereby a country's administration is being taken over by another superior country. Okay, full stop. So if that is defined, you put your this in over there, 2 marks, you get your mark. So always remember the appropriate key or technical words when you are defining. Okay, all right. So I can give also another example. What define productivity? So productivity is the output per man hour. So the key words is the output per man hour is there. So when you are being asked to explain that definition, then we move to the C. Okay, so explain productivity should be an extended form of define productivity. Okay, so now you have defined productivity, you have gotten your 2 marks, but explain, probably you should expect something like 4 marks over there or 3 marks. So with that, you give the definition, consider the marks. So you are looking at the 4 marks, then you give the definition, which is productivity can be defined as the output per man hour, and then you do what? Throw a bit of light and give an appropriate example, if any. Okay, throw it. So productivity is the output per man hour. You can put your full stop over there. In other words, the total work done or the outcome of a work done by a person measured within an hour. Okay, that throws a bit of light on the definition. You put your full stop there, then you go further, and then you give an example. You can talk about compare 2 companies whereby company A produces, company A has 10 employees and they produce 6 boxes of chalk within an hour, and company B has 15 employees and they produce 4 boxes of chalk within an hour. You look at this and you see the one that has a higher productivity and the one that has a low productivity. Okay, so that could be an example given to that particular explanation. All right, so that ends it for the first set. Okay, so we'll look at the next set. Okay, so here we have another set: state, outline, and then explain. So the second form of explanation. Okay, so what do you have to do if you see a question which begins with state? As a student, what do you have to do, or a candidate? So consider the marks. Very important. Write the point in a simple statement form if the mark is 1 or 1.5, which is 1.5. Okay, if more, explain but briefly. You may also give an example, if any. They are not expecting you to write a lot of things here, 6 lines, except maybe the question is join. They join these 2 instructions, state and then explain. There can be a question like state and explain. That means they want the point in a statement form, in a simple sentence, and then you go further to explain. But if it is just state, so you have a question like, so let me talk about the first part. The first part where it is just one mark or 1.5. So you are being asked, state 4 importance of a constitution. State 4 importance of a constitution. Okay, so you have a question like this, 4 marks. Yeah, so 4 marks, which means that every correct answer you give carries what, 1 mark. Okay, so what do you have to do? You don't just write the point in phrases or clauses. So that is the simple statement form, or the simple sentence that I'm talking about. So you label them. A constitution, a constitution protects our fundamental human rights. Full stop. That's a statement. You put your full stop. You get 1 mark for that, because that's a complete statement. No two ways about that. A constitution spells out the powers or functions of the arms of government. That is also okay. You put your full stop right there. You go to the next point. A constitution helps us to maintain law and order. You put your full stop over there. A constitution gives legitimacy to government. All these are key points, and you are not just listing them, you are stating them. That's a state. So state is from the word statement. Okay, so you have to write them in that, so you get your 1 mark. So when it is 6 marks, it means that each carries 1.5, which is 1.5. You still get your full mark for that. Okay, all right. But if it happens that the mark is more, so 2 and above, okay, with the same instruction, state, what do you have to do? You write the point in a statement form. So the constitution protects our fundamental human rights. You have done that. You are getting your 1 mark for that. Now you explain briefly, and if you are smart enough, you can use just 1 sentence to explain it. So the constitution contains our fundamental human rights, which are protected, okay, and this prevents people in power from abusing the rights of the vulnerable, like children, women, and other ordinary citizens. Okay, you put your full stop over there. You can get 2 marks or 3 marks for that. You have explained briefly. Okay, yeah, so that is it. If there is an example, that's why I've put if any. If there is an example, you put the example there, and you are good to go. Outline. So outline is actually stemming out of states, the instruction states. So they don't look too different anyway, but most of the time you see outline and you see some huge marks. Okay, so you have to first consider the marks. If it is 1 or 1.5, you do it the same way. You write them in a statement form. But if it is more than that, what do? Write a summary of the point, capturing all relevant ideas. A summary of the point, capturing all relevant ideas. So you can write your point in a statement form. Then you can put some of the relevant ideas together, but it shouldn't be too long or lengthy. All right. So that is it. Don't beat around the bush. That means that you have to go straight to the point. Straight to the point. Outline. Don't just be writing so many things that they can't even get the key idea that you want to express. Okay, so give appropriate examples, if any. Okay, so that's what you do under outline. So it's just like a state, but here you have to take note that you have to capture the relevant ideas. All right. Explain. State your point clearly. Explain in details with appropriate examples, explain. Here, this is the second part of the explanation. This one is where you have a point and then you have to go further and explain. So state the point clearly. So a constitution gives legitimacy to government. Okay, so explain in details with appropriate examples. Alright, so you need to understand the keyword legitimacy. Any point you are writing and there is a keyword or a vocabulary or term there that you don't understand, it's better you don't use it. Otherwise, you express your point nicely, but you end up writing something which is which does not conform to the point. The explanation must be in line. Because if the head is good, the body must be good. The head can be good and the body will be bad. Okay, so if they go through the explanation, you realize that what you've actually expressed over there is not in line with the point. You only get a mark for the point, and that won't end up well. Okay, all right. So that is what you do under explanation. So you give a detailed expression of your ideas, you elaborate them, throw more light, give examples. Alright, so that is what you do over there. Alright, let's look at the next set. The next set, list, name, mention. So I always say that students like this one most. Yes, so they like this one the most. You see, here you don't need to construct any sentence. It is not compulsory. You can go ahead and construct the sentence. Some students are very clever candidates. They are fast and they can do it. Every point they would like to put it in a statement form. That's good. You can do that here. You will not be penalized. Okay? But here, you need to take note that you have just to write down only the major points. It may be either a word, phrase, or a simple sentence. Okay, so they are all allowed. Alright. Don't explain unless the instruction demands. Okay, so here we say list and explain, mention. Okay, most of these questions, the questions that go with this instruction actually will come at the first part or first sub question. So you have question. So you have an example like list the 5 major ethnic groups in Ghana. Name 5 major ethnic groups in Ghana. Mention 5 major ethnic groups in Ghana. You can have that. So you just write those names. So you use your Roman numerals. So the 5 major groups in Ghana, you can give that preamble nicely. And you come to I, Akan, I, Gan Dangwe, I, Ewe, IV. You have the Guans. Then you have V, the Mole Dagbani or the Mole Dagbon. So you just list them, name them, okay. Or mention 3 types of constitution. Mention 3 types of constitution. That's the main point. They have not asked you to explain the constitution. If you find that in the question, you go ahead and do that. So the types of constitution is I, written constitution and unwritten constitution. I, rigid constitution and flexible constitution. I. You have federal constitution and unitary constitution. You are done. You get your marks and then you move to the next sub question. Okay, if the question is structured in that manner. Enumerate follows the same, so you can enumerate. If you have been asked to list, you can do same. But sometimes if they add explain, then you remember we did explain the second one. You have to go further, give the details, add the examples. Alright, so you elaborate on the point. That's what it is. So let's look at the last set. So the last set has this. Students don't like these ones. They come with a whole lot of issues. But here you have to read and have more vocabulary terms. Your expressions must be good, but you don't have to beat around the bush as well because you are dealing with time. The examples too have to be accurate, all of them. So generally, that's their nature. So with identify, you consider the marks, bring out the features or details of something. Okay, so when I pick something here, and I show this to you, so it is a TV remote, or if I pick a mobile phone, I ask you what is this, you have seen certain features on the mobile phone. Or if I erase this, you know this is a watch. You can't call this the remote and call this the watch. Why? Because it has certain features that you can identify. That is why you call this a watch. And because of the features on this and what it does, that's why you call it a TV remote. Okay, so that's simple as that. So if you have a point, identify 4 reasons for the migration of the ethnic groups from their former location to their present settlement or location you identify. So you are going to bring out everything that you know, okay, what actually led to and how they got to this place. Then you add examples. So that is identify. Alright, so describe. So describe, you have to mostly questions in social studies that carry describe or have describe as instruction, they normally go with a lot of illustration. So with the diagram one, so describe the formation of a cyclonic rainfall, okay, or describe the cyclonic rainfall. At times you have to look at the marks, okay, you have to look at the mark. If the mark is huge, then it means that the diagram must be there. So what, or describe cyclonic rainfall, 4 marks. Only a student who is smart and very fast can go further and then put the diagram there, you see. But you can't just put any nasty diagram there, okay, excuse me to say, because the diagram must look nice and it has to conform or be in line with what you have written in the explanation, okay. Other than that, if the question is describe cyclonic rainfall, 10 marks. Even if they don't add a diagram or illustrate with a diagram, then you have to be smart to know that you need to go further and draw, okay. So you just, cyclonic rainfall is the type of rainfall that is formed as a result of 2 wind clashing, okay, or meeting. So the cold wind and then the warm wind or the hot wind. So these air masses or wind meet, and then they meet at a point called a cyclone, okay. And what happens is that because the cold wind is denser, it sinks down, and because the warm wind is lighter, it ascends, okay, or rises into the atmosphere, goes to form cloud and fall back as rain. You have explained. So that's the explanation. You get a mark for that, and there's a mark for the diagram. So you quickly come and then draw, okay. You can put the diagram first or draw first before you bring the explanation. They are all acceptable, okay, because everything that you have written there should actually be clear in the drawing or diagram. That's why you have to know how to draw as a social studies student. So describe, that is it. So out of describe, you can have discuss. So with discuss, normally you won't have a diagram question, okay. So here you explain, bring out all details with appropriate examples, facts, outcome, results, and proof, okay. So if you have done a research, you have gotten some proof, so you are describing something, so it's just like with discuss, you combine explain and combine, you combine explain and combine describe all together, okay, because you are discussing the whole issue. Alright, so when you go to the higher level, they use more of this, the more tertiary, SHS, and then you have this because they are expecting you to explore, write more detail, and then give accurate examples. And you can even quote. So from the daily newspapers, you can quote from authorities, people who have said something, okay, definitions, and then support them. Those are the proofs. That's what happens over here. So you need to be a good reader to actually know how to deal with describe, discuss, and even describe. Alright, so the last point here, or instruction, we look at suggest or give, okay. When you are in a meeting and the meeting is where you are a member, they expect that your views will also be what put across, okay, and they will be what considered. In an examination room or hall, as you sit with the paper, there are some questions that could carry or come with this instruction. So suggest 4 ways, okay, of controlling irresponsible adolescent behavior. Very simple, straightforward. So what do? Put a point of view across. That's your point of view. What do you think? Irresponsible adolescent behavior. So you've seen drug abuse, you've seen prostitution, promiscuity, you've seen armed robbery, okay? All these activities, they are not good. That's why you call them irresponsible. What can you, as an individual, as an adolescent, a candidate, a student, social studies student for that matter, what can you put on the table or suggest? It could be to people in authority, to your community, to your leaders, to the chief, okay, in your area, okay. So they can consider all those things and then sit and say, okay, this is brilliant, this idea is good. Then you put it all together to solve that problem. So normally you suggest certain things to solve an issue or a problem. Remember, a good social studies student must be a problem solver, not a problem creator, okay. Yeah, I hope you get that one. And that's why we are learning all these things, so that you can go out there and then solve societal problems. All right, so you have to make good use of this and give concrete suggestions, okay, suggestions that are real. Then here, one thing you should take note of: when you are giving your suggestions, you make use of modal verbs such as should or must, okay. So the government should enforce, you understand? Yes. So the police service should enforce the laws that have been made concerning, how is it, all these activities or the irresponsible adolescent behaviors, drug abuse, prostitution. Okay, the laws are there, but we still see some of these young girls engaging in such acts. So the law must be what? Enforced. So you are now suggesting, because that's what you observe that it's not being done. So you are suggesting. Okay, so should or must, and use any of these. So I will advise you to use more of the should. Okay, the must is more commanding. It's like you are trying to impose. Okay, alright. So should. So when constructing initial statement, that's your point. Then you go further to explain why you think that should be done. Okay, that should be done. Alright. So if it is maybe streetism, or if it is issue like teenage pregnancy that you feel can be checked or controlled in the society, you are saying that you think the best solution is what parents should show love or treat their children very well, show enough care for their children so that they will not go wayward. So we are actually suggesting there should be what? Responsible parenting. Okay, so those are some of the things that you have to do when you are being asked to suggest. Okay, suggest in a social studies exam. I believe all these instructions, you've taken note of them and you are going to practice now. So when you see any social studies paper, don't be afraid or scared at all. These are the instructions and this is what you have to do as a social studies student. Go through, pick more of the questions, solve them, and you become the best student in your social studies class. Yes, I tell you. And this is going to be a good foundation for you even when you get to the higher level in terms of the academic ladder. Okay, so I wish you all the best. After learning all these, I see you to be a good writer. Yes, a good writer, or somebody who can answer social studies questions very well. So that is it for the instructions. All right. I believe you enjoyed this particular lecture. It was brief. We tried to make it more detailed for you to understand, and you enjoyed it. You've had a grasp of a practical knowledge of what you have to do as a social studies student when you are being given a question that carries any of these instructions that we've already talked about. Well, if you still have challenges with any of them, you can still communicate by posting your concerns or comments in the comment section or box. Then I will still address them. Another one I will be doing will be a part 2 of this, so watch out. That one is going to be on the presentation. So we've looked at the instructions, what you have to do when you are being asked to answer those questions, and then how you present the answers. Okay, so on the answer sheets or answer booklets. So when you have your answer booklet, how do you present the answers? What do you have to do? What the spacing, and then the numbering, the labeling, okay, the preamble and all those things. So look at that one in my next video. So keep watching JSL tutorial and keep commenting, like, share with your friends out there, and I'll be coming your way with another fantastic lesson, and I promise you it's going to be a great time. Take care of yourself. I love you. Bye bye.